So here's what happened. Queen Elizabeth I was born September 7th, 1533. She was the daughter of King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. However, because Anne was executed at the orders of Henry because she didn't give him any sons, Lizzie was declared illegitimate. But Lizzie was pretty young when her mom died, so it didn't affect her all that much. But her change in status from princess to lady did affect her. But otherwise, she had a pretty happy childhood, and she got along pretty well with her half-brother Edward and her half-sister Mary, even though they all had different moms. So when Henry eventually did die, it was pretty obvious that Edward was going to be the new queen, considering Henry spent pretty much his entire reign trying to specifically get a son to replace him after he died. But Edward's reign didn't last that long, and after his death, Lizzie's half-sister Mary took the throne instead. But the people of England were not too happy with that. First of all, Mary was a Catholic, and she wanted you to know it. Even though the rest of England had kind of gotten used to being Protestant at this point, Mary was not having any of that. It's kind of like going into your home when you're about to eat an apple. Like, you've all cut it up, you've got some peanut butter on the side, you're all ready, you're so excited to eat this apple, but Mary storms in and slams the apple off the table and forces an orange in your face instead. And you're like, oh, no, I don't really want to eat an orange. I was good with that apple. That's kind of what I wanted to eat. And she's like, no, you eat this orange or you don't eat anything. But this isn't a story about Mary. This is a story about my gal Lizzie, so we're going to skip over all of Mary's issues. All you really need to know is that the people didn't like her, but she did whatever she could to try to make sure she stayed queen, including locking Lizzie up in a tower when she thought that the people would rather Lizzie be queen than her. But eventually it all proved to be for naught because Mary did end up dying, and Lizzie took the throne in 1558 at the age of 25 and reigned for 44 years until her death. Woo! We stand an icon! Woo! Yay! Woohoo! The Elizabethan era did become synonymous with a golden age in England, which was known as a time of prosperity where the arts were able to flourish and people were generally doing pretty good. Lizzie did inherit quite a big number of problems from Mary. Firstly, there was that whole religion issue again, with Mary trying to throw out all the apples in the house and furiously replace them with oranges. But, Lizzie was all like, nah, fam, no. I know you guys want your apples, so you're gonna get your apples. So during her first session to Parliament in 1559, she called for the passage of the Act of Supremacy, which re-established the Church of England, and the Act of Uniformity, which created a common prayer book. Essentially, she renamed the Church of England as the official religion of England, but on the side she was like, if you guys want to eat oranges, you can, just don't go telling people about it, She was been quoted saying, there is one Jesus Christ, and the rest is a dispute over trifles. However, that does not mean that there weren't some Catholics that did suffer religious persecution during her reign, but historians differ on the extent of which this happened, though ultimately she was still excommunicated by the Pope at the time. Now, the second mess of Mary that Elizabeth had to go cleaning up was the fact that England was now at war with France. Luckily, with the help of her key advisor William Cecil, she was able to put an end to this. Now, what happens next is just a little too close to a narrative motif that it makes you wonder if all of history is really just one big old story that somebody out there is making up. Basically, Elizabeth's deceased half-sister Mary, so she married Philip from Spain. And now Philip's coming over to Lizzie and is all like, ayo, marry me. Because you see, he wanted a wife that was not pro-France. But Lizzie was all like, nah, stay away from me. So, at least Lizzie didn't go following in the footsteps of her father's really bad decisions. In fact, Lizzie didn't marry at all, and it even granted her the title of the Virgin Queen. Because Lizzie knew that at this time, women were subordinate to their husbands, and if she were to marry a king of another country, that would, in a way, make her country subordinate to that country. So she did what she had to do for her country, and in order to maintain the strength of England and ensure its independence, she ensured her own independence, even though that would also mean the end of the Tudor line. Nevertheless, for a while Lizzie was able to avoid clashing with Spain, but this sort of ended in 1585 when Lizzie entered the fray to support the Protestant rebellion in Spain and the Netherlands. You see, because Spain basically had this same no apples policy that Mary did. It was oranges only in our entire country. But in the Netherlands, people were kind of like, no, dude, we like apples. And Lizzie, a fan of apples herself, was all like, yeah, I'm here for it. So Spain set its sight on England, but the Navy was able to defeat the Spanish Armada in 1588. Now, like I said earlier, Elizabeth's reign was considered a golden age in England, and many historians even consider it to really be the birth of the English Renaissance. Many Elizabethan artists drew from the early European Renaissance ideals, but at the same time brought a sort of unique national twist on it. Elizabeth was a great supporter of the arts and music at the time, which really influenced the status of it, and her image was often evoked in paintings and literature. However, this does not mean that Lizzie was not without her secrets. The era was also shadowed with a great time of espionage, social commentary over which can even be seen in many of William Shakespeare's plays. But because of this great age of prosperity, Lizzie is often given credit for bringing economic stability to the nation. But problem number 3 she inherited from Mary was a really difficult financial situation. Going into her reign as queen, she inherited £227,000 of debt. Elizabeth engaged in a lot of expensive issues, especially foreign policy. Even though she was really strict with her budgets and tried to be careful with her spending, there were certain things that she couldn't avoid spending large sums of money on. And when she died in 1603, the nation was in debt of around £350,000 to £123,000, but this represented just under £3,000 a year. So what at first seems like it's a really great feat that she was able to cut down the debt so much, when you really look at the numbers, it's not as much. And largely, the whole economic issue was still really unresolved when her successor, James I, came into power. On March 24th, 1603, Lizzie died. Many people believe her death was significantly influenced by the cosmetic concoction she used to create her famous pale-skinned look. They called it the spirits of Saturn, and it was created by mixing white lead and vinegar. So it's very likely that it negatively impacted her health. So ultimately, if you learn anything from my video, what really matters is that you understand Queen Elizabeth I was an icon, a legend, a literal queen. We stan her so much. Lizzie for life.